And one day I had a pretty bad wreck, sent me to the hospital. It cut my leg from the inside of my thigh all the way up to my hip and was like millimeters away from my artery.
All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Checkered. Thank you so much for joining us wherever you might be. And today we have another sprint car driver, and I'm really looking forward to getting into it. He's somewhat local. He's coming out of Oklahoma, so that's not too far from me up here in Kansas City. He's down around the Tulsa area. So without further ado, let's introduce him, Mr. Garrett Massey. And Garrett, how are you doing today, sir?
Really good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man, absolutely. Thank you so much for coming on and joining us. I've had a ton of fun, and the sprint car, no pressure, but the sprint car interviews have been a lot of fun because I think sprint cars are really cool. I don't know a lot about them, so I like to pick your guys' brains because they're neat to me.
Yeah, the power to weight ratios definitely makes it interesting for sure.
Absolutely, and then it always seems to make for some interesting racing with the open wheel stuff. A lot of flipping it seems to be involved
Yeah,
in that stuff. But cool, man. Well,
yeah, the push and flip.
oh yeah, absolutely. Well, tell me a little bit. Introduce yourself. Who you are, where you're from. What's your race. What you do for a day job. Kind of introduce us to you.
Yeah, I'm Garrett Massey. I live in a small town. It's called Skytook, Oklahoma. It's like 15 miles north of Tulsa, and I drive a semi. I deliver to Whataburgers in Oklahoma, Arkansas, Missouri, Kansas area. Really, any Whataburger there, I have delivered to. And I did race the micro sprints here locally, Port City, which is a pretty famous track. And the end of last year, I decided to switch it up and got into a sprint car, which is like a 360 two barrel champ sprint class. And that's kind of where I'm at right now.
Cool, man.
Just waiting.
Well, break it down a little bit for us. What is a 362 barrel? I know that I was asking you a little bit before recording, but kind of explain that to people who might not know what that is.
Yeah, here locally they have the 305 race saver class, but they also have a 362 barrel class, which is kind of they want to say it's like a budget friendly class. You can kind of build your own motors and still be in spec. And it kind of is in a way, but it's not cheap by no means. So you race like a 360 cubic inch just with the two barrel carburetor on it instead of the fuel injection like the ASCS run.
Very cool. Very cool. And then what are the plans? Is that kind of what you're planning on running moving forward, or are you planning to move to a different class, or kind of what's the future plans for that look like?
Yeah, I mean, we'll probably stick with the two barrel for a while. They have local divisions that run around Oklahoma and Missouri area, and they also have a non-wing division that run locally like once a month a year. So next year the plan is to run the whole non-wing series, which is the United Sprint League, and run here locally at the Tulsa Speedway and try to go for Rookie of the Year track championship.
Very cool. Where all do you come up and race in Missouri? I've heard you mention Missouri a couple times, but where do you race in Missouri? You anywhere around where I'm at?
Uh, they race at Wheeling, at Lucas Oil. The OCRS, which is another local series that run wing sprint cars here, they go up and run at Oil a lot.
Okay, that's Springfield, right? Or where's Lucas Oil at?
Yeah, it's in Wheatland, Missouri. It's kind of close to Springfield.
Okay. Yeah, I'm still trying to. There's so many dirt tracks around me that I'm still trying to keep them all straight. I can't keep up with it all though.
Yeah, there there's quite a few. That's for
Absolutely,
sure.
absolutely. Well, so what got you into racing then? It sounds like you're kind of still early on in your career with it, but what got you into it? What steered you towards it? What gravitated you towards it?
Uh, growing up, we were a sports family, so I played basketball my whole life. My sister went Division One. My dad had offers Division One. My grandpa went Division One. My brother, so it's kind of like was in what we did, and it was just the competitiveness of playing basketball and being a leader on the team and stuff like that. Well, when I graduated high school, I didn't go to college to play basketball. And so I kind of had to find something different and got into motorcycles and kind of got into some trouble riding on the street and everything. And so decided, I needed to switch it up. So then I was like, well, I'll try to race dirt bikes and didn't really have a whole lot of success with that, but I had a good time. And one day I had a pretty bad wreck, sent me to the hospital. It cut my leg from the inside of my thigh all the way up to my hip and was like millimeters away from my artery. And the look on my mom's face when she come to the hospital to see me was kind of devastating. So I decided to start looking for something different. And I had been to the races. My dad's friend growing up had a factory stock and whatnot. And so being here close to Tulsa, we have the Chili Bowl. And then we also have for the micros, the Tulsa Shootout. And so some of my buddies were really into going to the shootout, and I had never been. So I went with them one day and walked around. I was like, this is awesome. This is something a little safer with a cage. And I think I want to do it. So, you know, had kind of funny story. I got laid off during COVID. So I was just sitting around doing nothing because, nobody was hiring, and found a micro for sale in Tulsa, local, and was like, I'm going to just go buy it. And so pulled the trigger, got a really crappy deal. The guy see me from a mile away, and which is fine. I don't need the nicest stuff to start out. And so bought the micro, had it for like a week. We took it apart, and because the frame was like purple, it is the ugliest color I've ever seen in my life. And so we took it apart to get it powder coated, and when I put it back together, I had no clue what I was doing. Luckily, the guy at the powder coating shop, Tommy, he was super nice. He raced micros, and he's like, you know what? Just bring your car over. We'll go through the whole thing, and I'll help you out. And so I'm very thankful for all the help Tommy's done, because if it wasn't for him, I probably would have already stuffed it in the fence in the micro the first race out and would have been done. But rebuilt the micro. That was like 2020, and ever since then I've been hooked. It's like it's brought back that competitiveness from playing basketball, and I can't just let it go. It's something that is like a growing desire. I just want to get better.
Sure.
So that's where we're at. And the micro sprint division here locally, they race weekly. They have it is guaranteed 30 to 40 cars a class, and so it's really competitive. It's a lot of fun. It just it made more sense to go the sprint car route just for the pay. The pay in the sprint car pays a lot better than it does to run a micro.
Interesting. Interesting. Huh. That's all super cool. I mean, I think that a lot of people that's what it is for me, at least, on why I have the desire to go do this. Is I played baseball, football when I was growing up, and then everybody else grew and I didn't. I was like 4'11" my freshman year of high school, so football was not the sport for me when I was going up against the like 6'2" kid who was just bred for it. But baseball, I played baseball in
Yeah.
college and everything like that. Well, I hurt my back, had to give up baseball for a while, had to give up baseball basically. And I was just yearning for that competitiveness, like you said. And I've always been a little bit of like a speed
Yeah.
and an adrenaline junkie and all that. And I've always been a race fan. And I don't know why it never clicked earlier in life of I want to go racing. Because you know how much easier it would have been to start this before I had kids, because now I have, kids and a family and all that stuff. But super grateful for them. Don't want
Yeah.
anybody to ever think I'm not. But it definitely makes it harder to find the time to go racing. But that I think everybody who does race can relate to that a lot of. I needed to find something to fill a competitive void. I needed something to fill this
Mhm.
adrenaline junkie side of me. And it sounds like you tried motocross and wadded it up and damn near cut your femoral artery. That's insane, by the way. How? So what
Yeah.
happened? What happened with that? How did you wad it up that bad?
Yeah, so they have a like a recreational area out here kind of close to Tulsa that a lot of people go ride out, and I it was the weirdest thing. Like one morning my buddy hit me up. He's like, "Hey, let's go ride today." And I was like, "All right, whatever." So I get out there, and I had the feeling like, yeah, I probably should just go home. But, I was already there. I already paid the money to get in. So we head down the trail, and I was like, I'm just going to take it easy today. I'm not really going to push it. But riding with other people, it doesn't always go as planned.
Right.
And so it had rained quite a bit the week before. And the main trail that we were on had these ginormous water puddles. And so we come around a bend and they all kicked out to the right to go around the puddle. Well, I didn't register in my mind that there was one there. So I went right through the middle of it. And right after was like another hard right. And so when I took the hard right and grabbed the brake, it wasn't even there. It was like non existent. And kind of panicked, didn't know what to do, and just throttled it as hard as I could, trying to just, make the turn, at least break the back tire loose so it would kind of kick sideways on me and maybe have the chance to make a turn. Well, it didn't. It just hooked in and ran me right into a tree, like straight in to the tree, and I went to the right. And I think we don't really know, but I think what happened was when it kicked me to the right, the bike fell to the left, and a peg is what actually cut my leg open.
Eeh.
And I knew as soon as I hit the ground, something was wrong. It felt like I had just got racked like 100 times, and I'm rolling on the ground, and my friend like looks at me. He's like, "What's wrong?" I'm like, "You need to call the ambulance now." And yeah, I sat there for like 15 minutes. They had to come in with like side by sides and take me out of there, but they put my parents into the morning room or whatever it is,
Oh my
the
god.
bereavement room at the hospital. Yeah, they said wrecks like that usually you break the bone breaks right there, and if the bone's broken, it's highly likely that it nicks the artery, and they were just preparing for the worst.
Eeh.
So pretty bad. And then yeah, got through that. About 2 weeks later, I finally was able to walk around, and we had kind of a funny story. We had booked a cruise, and so I'm like, well, I'm still going. And so we made the drive. Well, on the way there, my leg had gotten infected. They didn't give me any antibiotics, no painkillers, nothing at the hospital. And so we get to the cruise, like hobbling around, and I'm like, this is hurting so bad. And ended up having they had to cut my leg open on the cruise ship and flush all the stuff out. And I had to visit them every day. They repacked the wound and everything. It was pretty bad, but it was kind of a funny story afterwards.
Holy shit, dude. That's a
Yeah.
no. Yeah, don't go ride dirt bikes anymore. Sounds like you cheated at once. I'd call it good there. Holy hell.
Yeah.
God damn. Have you wadded up
Yeah, pretty
your
much.
race
I
car
sold
that
all the
bad?
dirt bikes. I've only flipped the micro one time, and that's really it.
How is it? How is it
I
to flip
I
a?
don't
How
know
is
how
it
I haven't
flipping?
flipped more than once, but I mean, it happens so fast. You really don't register what's going on until you land on the other side.
That's fair.
It wasn't too bad though.
Does it hurt? Does it hurt when you're flipping?
Well, I mean, mine was like a little. It was a little flip compared to some of the other ones, but it didn't hurt. It didn't hurt that bad.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Um, well, what's one of your proudest moments in racing? What's one of your, what's something you hold near and dear in racing? And I know you said that, you're kind of, yeah, but so before recording, I don't want you to sell yourself short where you say you don't have many accomplishments, but dude, it sounds like from the sound of it, you've accomplished a lot. But what's one of your proudest
Yeah.
moments in it?
Uh, Probably winning a heat race at the shootout. Uh, Against some pretty stacked people that like Noah Harris, who he ran World of Outlaws for a while. Um, there's a couple other ones that are pretty heavy hitters in the micros, but you know, I pulled it out, won it, running the bottom. That's probably my favorite thing. I still go back on Flow and watch the replay of it all the time.
Yeah, dude, that's awesome. I did. You won a heat race at the shootout on Flow, huh?
Yeah,
Huh.
yeah.
I'll have to check that out,
Got an
man.
interview and everything.
Not a lot of people can say that, dude. That's a huge accomplishment. That's freaking awesome. That's freaking awesome. So we talked about a little bit of what the future plans look like for running. You're going to stay in the 362 barrels for a little bit, but what's kind of the end goal in racing for you? I mean, do you have a big end goal with it, or is it just kind of seeing where the road takes you, or what's the story with that?
Yeah, I don't really know. I pay for a lot of this stuff myself, which is not cheap, and so we kind of just race as much as we can. And I would love to, next year get rookie of the year for the United Sprint League. Would be huge for me. Make all the races really, but I would like a chance to drive in the Chili Bowl, like in a midget. I think that would be awesome if someone would lend me a car. I think that would be awesome. But my kids are growing up, and they had a uh, pay to ride day here at the Tulsa Quarter Midget track, and we took them out there, and they loved it. So, hopefully they get into it, and I can support them and be there for them, and watch them grow up in racing, which I think would be awesome. Uh, but I mean, that's kind of it, just it's just a good time. The whole family likes it. My dad's really into it. My kids love going to the track. It's just something that I like to do with the family. So as long as I can do it and afford to do it, I think it's just going to be something we'll do for a long time.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I couldn't relate to you any more on that. With my kids love racing. I mean, my son likes going to the dirt track with me. My daughter doesn't quite have the attention span for it yet, and obviously, I haven't taken my son to where we're in the pits yet. I'm kind of waiting until he's a little bit older because I'm working, in the pits, so I don't need to be trying to chase
Right.
around my 4-year-old when they're already chasing their kids around and the car needs to get ready. So eventually we'll get them into it, but it's kind of
Yeah.
the same thing when I started this whole journey, and the reason I wanted to document it was to show my kids, hey, this is how I made this work, or look at what I did over these 2 years to get to this point, right? You want to share that with your
Yeah.
family. And I told my wife, we were talking about it, and she's like, what if it doesn't work out? And I was like, the worst thing that can come from this is the experience that I gain in trying to make this happen makes it easier for me to try to make it happen earlier in life for our kids, if that's the route they decide
Yeah.
to go. You know what I mean? So I think
Yeah.
that's cool that you share the same sentiment. Like, this is a family thing. This is something that I'm doing for my family and myself. And yes, I love it. And we do it as much as we can, and we're going to do it as long as we can. So hats off to you, man. That's a great way to look at it, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just awesome. It brings everybody together, and they all like to have a good time.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And the racing community is a great one to raise your kids around, in my opinion. Obviously, there's bad eggs. I say that every time I say something like that.
Yeah.
There is bad eggs, but the racing community as a whole is probably one of the greatest communities. It's so accepting. I couldn't think of a better place to raise your kids. And the BMod team that I'm helping out, Adam and his wife Shelby, had just had a baby here recently, and that baby's been at the track since it was like 2 weeks old. So, but
Yeah.
seeing how the entire pits knows their baby already, and this baby is 2 months old now, but how this baby has more aunts and uncles than I think anybody in this universe, and seeing how accepting it is, I think it's really cool, but very family
Yeah,
oriented.
it's definitely awesome.
Well,
Yes.
what is here's a I you've been at the track long enough to maybe have a story for this, but what's one of the craziest things you've seen at the racetrack? You know, what's one of the like you wouldn't believe this shit kind of story? Do you have anything like that that you can think of?
Uh, I kind of have two.
Yeah.
Um, one week they were running a non-wing show. I think it was called the Ironman 55 here locally at Creek County. And I was sitting in the stands actually this time, and a car had come out of like turn 3 and lost the front wheel, and it bounced off of the infield tractor tire and hit dead center of the stands, and it passed probably 10 feet to the left of me and went into the parking lot into the windshield of a car. Yeah.
That's awesome.
They said that was the second time for him to lose a wheel.
He needs to check his lug nuts more often or something. Jesus,
Yeah.
dude.
Yeah.
Hit a car, huh? That's the first time I've heard
Yeah.
about a car getting that's not on the track getting damaged at a racetrack. That's you don't hear that often. That's awesome, man. You said
Yeah.
you said
It
you
was
had
pretty
two.
crazy. I was in
The other
shock.
one?
Yeah, this was kind of unfortunate. It's really unfortunate. Another non-wing race there at the same track, and they had car flipped over, and he landed, and they thought like everything was fine, and he sat there for the longest time, and I was like, something is not right. Ended up, his name is Grady Chandler, and it paralyzed him. It was from the neck down. He got feeling he can move his arms and stuff now. It was
Holy
like
shit!
mind blowing how dangerous. It's like that puts you in this perspective of how dangerous actually can be racing these cars. But uh, man, that one was surreal.
Yeah, that's heavy. Yeah, that's heavy. And was that? I'm sorry. Was that while you were racing or before you went racing?
No, that was before I was racing. I was just a spectator.
Man, yeah, that's heavy,
Yeah,
dude. That is it will. I'm sure I'm sure all the drivers that night it put them in check really hard. Of oh shit. Hmm.
yeah, yeah. I was, cutting the cage out and putting them on the backboard was not something you ever want to see again.
No, God no, God no, no no no. Well, I kind of switch gears on you a little bit here, but what's a piece of advice that you would give me? You know, you kind of come from the same thing of not coming from it, doing it on your own, being the first one to do it really. But what kind of advice from you being able to do it would you give me if you were to go back and do it again?
Uh, it's going to be a lot of struggle, so you kind of just need to keep a positive attitude. And don't be scared to ask anybody for help because, like we talked about, everybody out there is willing to give you some sort of advice.
Sure. All right, man. Well, cool. I that's kind of the extent of my questions, but and you said you've watched these enough, so I'm sure you know kind of the last part of these. I kind of like to just open the floor to you guys. You know, any social media shout outs, merchandise, sponsorships, anything like that. People you need to thank, topics you weren't able to discuss that you feel that you need to get out there. So by all means, man, the floor is yours.
Yeah, I mean, I really, really need to thank Tommy, Broken Arrow Powder Coating, for everything that he's taken stuff off of his car to help me to get me back on the track. He's just an amazing person. And his Skytech Auto Parts, FWCS, the Glorious Baptist Church, the Brown Cow Diner, they've come on board to help me out this year. My dad, and of course, my wife, who allows me to go out there every weekend and do something that I love. And I think that's about it. I just am thankful for this opportunity. Thank you for letting me come on here. And if anybody has a Chili Bowl ride available, I would gladly be interested in talking to you about it.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, absolutely. Well, if I will be sure to link all of Garrett's stuff down below. So, if you guys would like to follow along with Garrett or get in touch with him in any way, I'll make sure all of his stuff is linked down below. But Garrett, man, hey, thank you so much for coming on and tuning in with us and sharing your story, man. I really appreciate it. I think you got a hell of a story, and I'm excited to see where your career takes off forward, moving forward from here, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This has been fun.
Absolutely, man. Well, have a great rest of your night. Thank you.